Now, audio. We got audio? Are we good? You can hear me, huh? I just updated from like Windows 10 to Windows 11, so there's a thing, There's a thing that, happens with this stuff sometimes. So, yeah, maybe a little rusty. Maybe a little rusty. Can you guys hear me now though? We're good? All right, cool. Good. What about how about now? Good. We got this view with this microphone, and everything's working now, right? Okay. All right. Hey, it ain't nothing. We're back in business here, figuring it all out. But yes, I appreciate all of you guys for joining me. It's been a while. I know I've been on a hiatus. I've been on a break, on vacation, but it's over now. And now we're back to business, helping you folks with some player prop research. We're going to be taking a look at some plays for tonight's Monday Night Football game. But before we get into that, I want to play a little game. We're going to play some Weddle, and then we're going to get into some of the top storylines from NFL Week 1. So talk a little bit about that, and we'll get to props at the end of the show. We'll try to keep this thing contained within an hour. So appreciate everybody for joining me. Man, there's a lot of familiar faces in here, a lot of names. Let's give you guys a quick shout out. Shout out to Desmond, longtime supporter, Patreon member. Appreciate you joining me today. Jimmy G is in the building. Thank you so much for your support. Chris Smith, aka Mr. Raptor, what's up? Let's freaking go. Glad to have you back and to see you here. King United's in the building. Shout out to you, Mr. William Tharp Jr. We got Tony Ruiz. He says, we here. Let's go. Appreciate you being here, Mr. Ruiz. Jimmy G. Love it. Love the support. JY says, let's go, CJ. Come and hang out. Yep. Mike from the fours. Been an OG, longtime supporter. Appreciate you, Mike. High Flyer 89 says, yo, this made my day. Can't cap Curry. Well, I appreciate that. I'm glad that you're here with me. Nick Guthrie says, good morning, gents. Hope the gang is still banking. Hope to see y'all soon. Yeah, Nick, we miss you, buddy. You need to come back, man. Join the Patreon. Come back into the community, brother. NFL season's upon us. We need you back. Pretty soon we'll have NBA to talk about too. So definitely got to get Mr. Guthrie back in the community. Kevin's here. He says, it's been a while. You're damn right. It's been a while. It's been too long, as a matter of fact. And I'm glad to be back. We got a little rust like we talked about. We got to knock the rust off. Wesley Winston's in the building. Shout out to you, Big Wes. Jacob says, no audio. We got the audio all figured out. Man, Taylor's in the building. Love it. Glad to have all of you guys back. Yes, please, if you could, smash that like button. We got to get back into the good graces of the YouTube algorithms. You know, the YouTube algorithms, they like when you guys hit the like button. They like when you leave comments. They like when you guys share this with a friend. So let's get back in the good graces of the YouTube algorithms. But yeah, man, shout out to everybody. There's a lot of you in here. There's a lot of you just leaving love in the chat. And I mean, I appreciate it. Ace V says, new looks, same goat. Yeah. Did a little overhaul. We rearranged some things. We changed up the look a little bit, and we're going to change up the format just a little bit. Like I said, it won't be 2 hours of nothing but player props. We'll still be talking some prize picks, obviously. They are the sponsor of the CJ Curry show, so I got to show love to Prize Picks. They're paying the bills around here. I got to know, where my bread is buttered, and it's with Prize Picks. So we'll definitely be talking some Prize Picks. But let's go ahead and play some Weddle. I need your help. If you're not familiar with Weddle, it's kind of like Wordle. It's kind of like Purtle, some of those games we've played in the past. But this one's going to be NFL based because 'tis the season for NFL football. So I need your help to help me solve today's Weddle puzzle. David Winker coming through with the super chat. Let's go. Speaking of super chat, guys, I'm going to enable membership soon on the YouTube channel so that you guys who are the most loyal of the most loyal can become members. Members will get priority when it comes to, player prop, chat or questions or any of that stuff, man. Members will have priority over subscribers and everything else. But yeah, I appreciate the super chat. It goes a long way to help support what we got going on here. So Let's go ahead and switch it up. Here we go. We're going to play some Weddle. So it's an NFL player guessing game. We get a total of 8 guesses here. We can really just start with any player that we want. So in this case, I'm going to start with Dak Prescott because poor Dak is on the mend and doesn't sound like he's going to be in there for the Dallas Cowboys for a while. Now, I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, so I'm not too mad at the Dak Prescott news personally. Dallas is 0-1. Everybody else in the division is 1-0. We'll talk about that in a minute, though. But anyway, we're going to start with our first guess as Dak Prescott. So obviously it's not Dak Prescott. This player doesn't even play for the Dallas Cowboys, but they are in the NFC division. Not a quarterback. This player is taller than 6'2", so it could be like a wide receiver, tight end. This player is also younger than 29 years old, and the jersey number is a number higher than number 4. So, what would our next guess be? I guess, we could guess another NFC player here. How about Julio Jones? Julio Jones had himself a pretty good game yesterday. So, Julio Jones is taller than 6'2", so we got that one. He's a wide receiver. So the player we're looking for here is not a quarterback, not a wide receiver. So it's got to be probably a tight end, right? Someone in the NFC, but not the NFC East. So Dallas Goedert would not fit the bill, would not fit the description of this particular player. So we know they're not in the NFC East. We know that they're not in the NFC South. Robert Tonyan? Would Tonyan fit the bill? I mean, it could be Tonyan. Let's try Robert Tonyan out. Green Bay Packers tight end. Not a bad guess. Now we know that this player is not Robert Tonyan. Doesn't play for Green Bay, but does play in the NFC North and is a tight end who is exactly 6'5". Could it be Cole Kmet? Could be Cole Kmet, right? Zach Ertz, wrong division. Wrong division. Could be Irv Smith. Irv Smith would be a reasonable guess. I mean, it's got to be a Viking, a Lion, or potentially, what's the other one? Bear. There you go. Bear. Viking, Lion, or Bear. You guys are saying Irv Smith, which leads me to believe you might already know the answer. Well, you're wrong. It's not Irv Smith. Now, my guess was going to be Cole Kmet. Let's see if it's Cole Kmet of the Chicago Bears. It is not Cole Kmet. All right. TJ Hawkinson? I mean, it's got to be Hawk, right? Got to be Hawk. Is Hawk 88? Because we're looking for a jersey number that's higher than 85, right? But I think we're kind of like narrowing it down here. We're running out of guesses. If it's not TJ Hawkinson, I'm really going to be flummoxed. Boom. TJ Hawkinson is the right answer, guys. Shout out to everybody who was on TJ Hawkinson. He fits the description perfectly. Detroit Lion, NFC North. He's a tight end. He's 6'5", 25 years old. And he's 88, number 88. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Appreciate you guys for helping me solve today's Weddle puzzle of the game. We'll be doing more of these in the future. If you like it, let me know. If you hate it, maybe we won't do it anymore. But let's get into some of the leading stories from NFL Week 1. This is a CBS article. Shout out to CBS Sports. NFL Week 1 overreactions and reality checks. Of course, we got the Dak Prescott injury, which is the headline, which is why he made today's thumbnail. Appreciate you guys for appreciating and liking the thumbnail. Put a little bit of time and effort into that thumbnail. So we'll be switching up the thumbnails from show to show, episode to episode. Throughout the NFL season, you could probably see me going live about 3 times a week. That'll be my goal, my aim. But you know, when NBA comes around, that's a daily sport. So it'll probably be more of a Monday through Friday type of thing once NBA starts. But for NFL season, we'll go 3 times a week, probably like Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That'll probably be the schedule tentatively. Things could change. 12 p.m. Eastern time, though. That's whenever I expect to be going live. And we'll try to keep this a 1-hour runtime. Your time's valuable and important to me, and my time, of course, is valuable and important. So we'll keep it an hour. We'll start it at 12 p.m. Eastern time, and we'll talk a little sports, and then we'll get into some PrizePicks plays. So let's talk about NFL Week 1. This article, I thought, did a really good job of just sort of recapping some of the top storylines, things that were happening in the NFL. Leading things off, obviously, Dak Prescott, Week 1. Injury. Not good news for the Dallas Cowboys. They've already been dealing with some injuries. You got Michael Gallup out. They lost their starting left tackle. Now they've lost their starting quarterback for several weeks. If you guys did not watch last night's game, Dak Prescott against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, toward the end of the game, attempted a pass and basically got a good high five from Shaq Barrett of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You don't want Shaq Barrett high-fiving you because your hand will get hurt. Dak Prescott, he found that out the hard way. So let's take a look at this. Dak Prescott's injury destroys the NFC East repeat. Overreaction or reality? I think that's a reality. I think without Dak Prescott in there under center, their chances go down the drain of repeating as NFC East champions. Now, I told you at the top of the show, I'm a Philadelphia Eagles guy. We're 1-0, but so are the Guardians, the Commanders. So are the Commanders. And so are the, that other team, Giants. They won. So anyway, Dallas is sitting down there at the bottom of the division right now, 0-1. They just lost their starting quarterback. Outside of CeeDee Lamb, doesn't really have a whole lot of options out there at wide receiver. So for me, I think this is absolutely reality. I think Dak Prescott's injury is no bueno for the Dallas Cowboys. The other storyline here, the Cowboys aren't making the playoffs with this offense. Is this an overreaction or reality? You guys let me know. Overreaction or reality? I think that this probably also is a reality, pending that Dak Prescott is going to be out for, what they say, 6 to 8 weeks. I don't think that they're going to go very far with whoever they end up signing. Now, there are some free agent quarterbacks out there or guys that could be potential trade targets. One of the trade targets that keeps coming up is Jimmy Garoppolo of the San Francisco 49ers. Obviously, they've handed the reins over to Trey Lance. San Francisco's in the Lance era. So that makes Jimmy Garoppolo a prime target for a potential trade. Another guy is the guy that's sitting on the bench in Philadelphia, which is Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew could be a potential trade target for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, do I want us to do business with the Dallas Cowboys? Quite frankly, hell no. I don't want to help the Dallas Cowboys in any way, shape, or form. Now, if they want to send back a couple of high-round draft picks for Gardner Minshew, well then, sign me up. Count me in. You can have Gardner Minshew for a couple of draft picks. But I'm not just going to give them away to my NFC East rivals, the Dallas Cowboys. Oh, hell no. You're going to have to pay for Gardner Minshew. But those are a couple of guys. You guys are saying Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick could be a move. They could bring back a guy like Dalton. Dalton, familiar with the Dallas Cowboys. He didn't have a great run in the Lone Star State. But, hey, maybe you go out there and you get Andy Dalton. You bring him back into the fold. But yeah, Colin Kaepernick's been waiting to get back into the league for a long time. So, I don't know. Lamar Jackson trade. Now, that would be pretty ballsy. That would really shake things up. Lamar obviously did not come to an agreement on his contract. But yeah, Lamar Jackson to the Dallas Cowboys would be something else. Here's another one for you. Carson Wentz is the best Washington Commanders quarterback since Kirk Cousins. Now, again, I'm a Philadelphia Eagle fan. I was actually a Carson Wentz fan. I was sad to see him go, but I'd have to say and agree with the writer of this article here that Carson Wentz is probably the best quarterback that the Commanders have had since Kirk Cousins. Carson Wentz had himself a pretty good game before throwing those 2 picks. He got off to a really good start. And I think Carson Wentz has found himself potentially a home for a while. Didn't work out with the Colts. Obviously did not work out with the Philadelphia Eagles. But I'd agree that Carson Wentz is probably the best quarterback that the Commanders have had since Kirk Cousins. Agree or disagree? I mean, who have they had, really, outside of Kirk Cousins that's worth a crap? Rest in peace, Dwayne Haskins. No disrespect. No disrespect to Dwayne Haskins. But he wasn't that guy, right? Who else have they had? Dig up Bart Starr and dust him off, Pimp Paul says. Now you're just talking crazy. Now you're talking crazy. The 49ers should turn to Jimmy Garoppolo if Trey Lance continues to struggle. I don't agree with that. I think this is an overreaction. I don't think this is a good way to go. I don't think that Jimmy Garoppolo should get his job back for the San Francisco 49ers. I think he had his chance. He had his opportunity. They obviously didn't think he was the guy, couldn't stay healthy, couldn't perform, whatever the case may be. They drafted Trey Lance, spent a high round draft pick on Trey Lance. He's the future. I don't think they should go back to Jimmy Garoppolo. So, yeah, I agree that this is an overreaction. Trey Lance, this is your job, at least for the next couple of years. Do not go back to Jimmy Garoppolo. If anything, trade him to the Dallas Cowboys like we talked about. And then a couple other pieces here. There will be another receiving Triple Crown winner, and it's Justin Jefferson. Now, they're saying this is an overreaction. They're saying that this is an overreaction. Could he lead the league in receptions, yards, and touchdowns? Justin Jefferson looked pretty damn good yesterday. I got flashbacks of Randy Moss. I got some flashbacks of Randy Moss yesterday watching Justin Jefferson. I ain't going to lie. And as an Eagles fan, yes, we drafted Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson. Now, Jalen Reagor plays for the Minnesota Vikings, but to this day, in the words of Deontay Wilder, to this day, I do regret us skipping over and passing up Justin Jefferson. So they're saying this is an overreaction, but I think this is absolutely possible that Jefferson could lead the league in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. A.J. Brown is the Eagles' best wide receiver since T.O. They say it's a reality. I absolutely 100% agree. We haven't had a receiver to the caliber of T.O. Since A.J. Brown. I mean, Deshaun Jackson was really good. Jeremy Maclin had some good years, but I think A.J. Brown's going to be that dude. He set an Eagles record yesterday as far as a debut game for the Philadelphia Eagles with 10 catches for 155 yards. I was really impressed with both Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. I think big things are coming for them, but it's good to see them get off to a great start. Looking forward to watching that tandem all season long. Travis Kelce will make the Chiefs forget about Tyreek Hill. Is this an overreaction or reality? I mean, Travis Kelce's that guy. We know Travis Kelce's that guy. He was that guy with Tyreek Hill. So, Pat Mahomes yesterday looked fantastic. I don't think that Travis Kelce is going to necessarily make anybody forget about Tyreek Hill, but Travis Kelce's been good. And Kansas City didn't look like they were missing Tyreek Hill services whatsoever yesterday. Saquon Barkley is a top 5 running back. They say this is an overreaction. I tend to agree with that. It's one game. There's going to be a lot of people who overreact to things like Saquon Barkley balling out, or a guy like Dameon Pierce, who everybody was really high on, not having such a great game. There's going to be a lot of overreactions after week 1. There's just going to be. But I'm not completely sold on Saquon Barkley being a top 5 running back. Only time will tell. We'll have to wait and see. Joe Burrow won't last the season with the Bengals offensive line. Is this a reality? Or is this an overreaction? Well, I thought the Bengals improved their offensive line. That was the news coming out of camp, that they did things to improve their offensive line, but it did not look like Joe Burrow had the type of protection that we all expected. So that could very well be true. We know Joe Burrow's had some injury history, blew out his knee. They got to keep Joe Burrow protected, or else that young man's going to be on the sideline more than out on the field. Khalil Mack will have 15 sacks this season. Overreaction or reality? They say it's reality. Khalil Mack's an absolute beast. He could absolutely get there. I ain't mad at that. Cordero Patterson will rush for 1,000 yards. He's saying reality. I don't know, man. Cordero Patterson did have himself a fantastic game yesterday, so shout out to Cordero Patterson. Aaron Rodgers could use a number 1 wide receiver. I think that is absolutely a reality, and if you watched how Green Bay performed yesterday against Minnesota, I think you'd agree. I think you would agree that Aaron Rodgers is absolutely missing Davante Adams, and they need to get him some help. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know who's out there or available, but the fact that they broke Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams up, you could absolutely see it yesterday. Adams did have himself a good game, 141 yards with the Raiders, so him and Derek Carr hitting the ground running. Big props to Davante Adams, man. He did his thing yesterday. The Browns are going over 500 with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. Reality? I don't know if that's a reality, man. Jacoby Brissett's one of the better backups, but I don't know if he's that guy that's going to take the Browns to a record over 500 in that division. Colts are going to run away with the AFC South. Overreaction or reality? I'm going to say that this is a reality. The Texans, Titans, I mean, I'm not really worried about any of those teams. I think the Colts are the kings of that division. Tyreek Hill is going to make Tua a Pro Bowl quarterback. Overreaction? Well, I don't think it'll be solely Tyreek Hill that makes Tua a Pro Bowl quarterback if he reaches Pro Bowl level. They've got Jalen Waddle there too. They got Mike Gesicki there too. They've got some weapons around Tua. So, yeah, definitely plenty of weapons. Lamar Jackson will throw for 35-plus touchdowns this year. Reality or overreaction? They're saying reality. I'm going to say you got to prove it to me, Lamar Jackson. I just don't know that he is going to go for 35-plus touchdowns. That's a pretty lofty number for a run-first quarterback who doesn't really have any valuable receiving options. So, anyway. Appreciate you guys for being here. Let's talk about some Monday Night Football picks over on PrizePicks. Let's pop this little PrizePicks window out here, and we'll get down to business. You guys let me know what props, what picks you're liking from tonight's Monday Night Football slate. Of course, it's just one game. Russell Wilson, new quarterback for the Denver Broncos, makes his return to Seattle, the team that drafted him, the team he won Super Bowls with, made Pro Bowls with, won MVPs with. I think he won MVPs, right? So, yeah, Russell Wilson making his return, taking on the Seattle Seahawks tonight. Sounds weird to say that because I'm so used to seeing him in that lime green and navy jersey of the Seattle Seahawks. But if you guys have any picks that you're liking, let me know in the chat. I was really hoping that PrizePicks would give us the Russell Wilson over 1.5 touchdown prop. I'm seeing it everywhere. A lot of people are smashing the over on the 1.5 touchdown prop. I wish we had it. I think that one's a really good one. It's hard for me to not see Russell Wilson having a really good game, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So let's take a look and see what you guys are talking about here. We're going to be using PrizePicks. That is the daily fantasy made easy. So if you do not play on PrizePicks yet, promo code Curry gets you a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. So you just go to prizepicks.com, use promo code Curry. You'll get that 100% instant deposit match on your first deposit up to $100. It's a good way to get some risk-free picks in there. So let's see what you guys are liking here. Like I said, I think Russell Wilson has himself a pretty good game tonight. I'm not mad at Russell Wilson having a big game. I'm seeing some love for Russell Wilson already. You guys are saying Geno over yards. Wow, Junior's liking some Geno Smith over passing yards. Let's take a look at that one. 189.5 passing yards. Geno Smith. Is he going to be that guy for Seattle? I mean, they've got what? Drew Lock sitting, waiting in the wings. Some of you guys are saying that the Russell Wilson touchdown prop was up on the board at one point. But they pulled it down. Well, I would like to get that touchdown prop back, but hey, it ain't gonna happen. So let's take a look at some of the ones that you guys are mentioning here. Let's see. We'll start with Geno Smith over passing yards. He's at 189.5. We're going to be using props.cash like we've done in the past to kind of take a look at some of these player props here over on PrizePicks. So Geno Smith at 189.5. He's listed at 212.5 over on props.cash. You can kind of take a look at what Smith did last season in limited playing time, limited starts. If we bump him down to the 189.5, it's a lot of bumping. It's a whole lot of bumping. That's quicker. There we go. Bumping down to 189.5. He's actually like 2 for 4 hitting this prop. So that's a 50% hit rate. Not terrible. 175.5 passing yards per game. Now, one thing that I've been doing is going to profootballreference.com, taking a look at last year's defensive metrics against a particular position. So in this case, quarterback. So we'll go to quarterback and we'll go to toggle per game stats, and then we'll sort from the most passing yards per game allowed to quarterback to the least. And so Geno Smith taking on Denver, you could kind of get an idea how Denver's defense performed last season. They gave up about 229.5 passing yards per game. 229.5 passing yards per game. So that is obviously more than 189.5. If you think this game kind of turns into one where it's a little bit of a back and forth, where it's a situation where Seattle, is maybe playing from behind, maybe it's not close and competitive, maybe it's a blowout and Seattle's forced to abandon the run and turn to their passing game, then, I could get on board with some Geno Smith over 189.5. So 190 or more passing yards is what he needs. If you want to take the more than 189.5 passing yards. I got to get used to some of these terms on PrizePicks, by the way. Last time you and I talked, it wasn't more or less. It was over and under. So I'm still getting caught up with the vernacular here on PrizePicks. They made some changes. So I'm going to get you guys a little projection here. We're going to look at Fantasy Labs. They got Geno Smith projected for about 210.5 passing yards. So they like the over on Geno Smith as well. As we mentioned, some of the books out there, they've got Geno Smith at 210, 212, 208, 206. So we're definitely getting a pretty squishy, pretty soft line on Geno Smith at 189.5. So I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that prop. Let's see here. What are some other ones? Russell Wilson rushing yards. Now, that was one that I did kind of take a little peek at. We know that Russell Wilson's got some wheels on him. He has been one quarterback who has scrambled in the past, but it seems like in recent years, he's not doing as much running as he was early on in his career. But we could take a look at Russell Wilson real quick for rushing yards. New situation, obviously, with the Denver Broncos. Will Russell Wilson be running? I don't know. He's got two pretty good running backs behind him in Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. I saw some folks liking Melvin Gordon over 35.5 rushing yards. I mean, that does seem like a pretty low number, especially if you think that Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams are closer to a 50-50 split in the backfield. We'll have to see how that plays out. But last season at 13.5 rushing yards, Wilson, 6 for 14, just 43% covering that prop. He did average 13.1, but a lot of that 13.1 was bolstered or boosted or inflated by some of these 26-yard, 32-yard rushing games. So did not cover this prop at a very consistent rate last season. But at 13.5, that number is coming in a little bit lower than what you're going to find it on a lot of the sports books out there. So if you take a look at some of the books, they've got Russell Wilson listed at 12.5, which is a little bit lower, 10.5, 13.5. So you're seeing a range of like 10.5 to 13.5 on this prop. So PrizePicks does have him up at a little bit of a higher number at 13.5. But at this number, he is projected for 15 rushing yards, which is more than 13.5. But for me, it's a little bit too close for comfort. A little bit too close for comfort, but we could take a look here at the quarterback position. Rushing yards per game allowed by the Seattle Seahawks last season. Gotta remember that this guy is no longer a Seahawk. He is now a Denver Bronco. But let's see here. Seattle allowed about 13.6 rushing yards per game to opposing quarterbacks last season. His prop line is 13.5. So I think I'm going to stay away from this one. But if you wanted to go there, I can't be too mad at you. But they are coming in at a higher line than where you're going to find them on a lot of the books out there. What else we got here? Geno Smith over passing yards. Jacob's liking that one. I think that one's looking pretty good too. They had the passing touchdowns, got rid of it. Desmond saying he's liking Geno Smith over 7 first half fantasy score. Now, I don't play a whole lot of first half props, especially for NFL, but he's at 7 first half fantasy score. Got some game logs from last season. I guess that kind of helps. But, in his last 5 games, 3 for 5. 8.5 first half fantasy score. I guess you could go there. I don't know. I'm not sure about that one. Those are a little harder to research, in my opinion. So I'm not sure that I'm in love with the first half fantasy, but my guy Desmond's pretty sharp. So if he's liking it, then maybe we got something on our hands there with that prop. Let's see. Bearded Gator is saying that he's liking both Javonte and Melvin Gordon over on their rushing yards. I told you before, there's a lot of people in the industry who are liking Melvin Gordon over rushing yards today. It remains to be seen how the rushing yards will be split up between these two running backs. So Javonte's at 58.5 rushing yards. Melvin Gordon's at 35.5. My guy Bearded Gator is saying that he likes both of these guys to go over their rushing yard prop at 58.5 and 35.5. Well, let's take a look at some numbers for these guys real quick. Javonte Williams at 58.5. You kind of see what he did last season. 6 for 17, 35% according to props.cash. By the way, guys, if you're not using props.cash, there's a link down in the description below. You get your first month of props.cash at a discounted rate. When you use code Curry, save yourself 25% off your first month. Not a bad way to go if you do not use props.cash yet or have never used them before. But anyway, that's what we're looking at here. Javonte Williams at 58.5 rushing yards, 6 for 17, 35%. 35%. So not a great hit rate for him. I think for me, Melvin Gordon coming in at the 35.5 would be the one that I would prefer. So when we take a look at Melvin Gordon, we crank him down to 35.5. You can see he was 12 of 16 last season. 75% hit rate. So obviously 35.5 is a lot less than 58.5. And if this does end up being more of a true 50-50 split, then I think I kind of favor Melvin Gordon here. Taking a look at the rushing yard props for both of these guys, or the projections rather for both of these guys. Javonte Williams is projected for 63 rushing yards according to Fantasy Labs. That is more than 58.5. Melvin Gordon's at 39. 39 is obviously more than 35.5. Javonte Williams, if you're looking at some various sports books out there, 55.5 rushing yards seems to be sort of the lowest you're going to find him at. 58.5 is kind of the highest number that Javonte Williams is listed at on any book out there. So PrizePicks right in line with some of the other books out there. Now, Melvin Gordon, we are getting some value on because we're seeing him at 37.5 out on your favorite book, as high as 38.5 out on your favorite book. So a few yards less on PrizePicks. So I guess for me, Melvin Gordon, if I had to choose between these two guys, would probably be the one that I like a little bit more. He's projected to go over. There's value when you compare it to some of the other sports books out there who are offering the rushing prop for Melvin Gordon. And then last but not least, we could take a look at the rushing yards allowed by the Seattle Seahawks last season. Two rushing yards allowed two opposing running backs last season. Let's take a look at those on a per game basis. Bearded Gator saying that Bobby Wagner's going to be out tonight for the Seahawks. So that's going to help things for this Denver Broncos rushing attack. So they gave up about 95 rushing yards per game to opposing running backs, which is not a bad number. So yeah, I think that both of these are probably in play, but for me, if I had to pick between them, Melvin Gordon's looking like the better one for me personally. Bobby Wagner on the Rams. Okay, so he got traded. Well, there you go. See? You learn something new every day. Bobby Wagner no longer there. Let's see here. Jimmy G's coming through. Jimmy Green says, can we look at Jason Myers fantasy? Jason Myers fantasy. Sure. Let's take a look. Jason Myers fantasy. Appreciate the love, by the way, Mr. Green. Myers is at 6.5 fantasy score today. 6.5 fantasy score. So let me see if I can have a projection for this guy. Let me see what I can do for you. There's a chance that I may not have one, but we're going to take a look. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to have any kicker projections. Doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it, my friend. But message me in Discord. I'd be happy to help you out with that. I don't have them through Fantasy Labs, but I got other sources. But Jason Myers, anyway, at 6.5 fantasy score, he's gone over in 3 out of his last 5 games. Of course, this is week 1, new season. This is all from last season, so definitely keep that in mind. Anything can happen. If Seattle's able to move the ball but not be able to, punch it into the end zone, then I could see Jason Myers potentially kicking a couple of field goals out there. Let's see here. Yeah, okay, guys. All right, I get it. Wagner's not even on the Seahawks anymore. He's on the Rams. All right. Listen, there's a lot of moves that happen in the offseason. I ain't going to catch them all. Not going to catch them all. Sean Vega says, Penny rushing yards. What about Penny? Let's take a look. We got Rashad Penny at 67.5 rushing yards today. It seems kind of high, but they're going to be without Walker? I think is that his name? He's going to be out, right? And of course, Chris Carson retired, so the backfield pretty much belongs to Rashad Penny tonight. Let's take a look at Penny. I don't know if this is going to help us a whole lot looking back at last season, being that the whole dynamic has changed in the backfield for Seattle. But take a look at what he did here in the last 5 games, kind of close out the season. 4 for 5. Finished very strong. 137, 135, 170, and 190. So for me, this is a game script type of situation. If Denver somehow doesn't come out and just tears the Seattle Seahawks up and this game stays close and Seattle's able to continue to run the ball throughout the course of the game for 4 quarters, then I do like Penny going over 67.5. But if for some reason Seattle falls behind in the first half and the second half they turn to a pass-heavy attack, they're going to have to give up on Rashad Penny pretty quick, right? So, you just have to kind of figure out in your head, come up with a game script and stick to it really. And then make your over or under your more or less decisions appropriately. But Rashad Penny at 67.5 on PrizePicks. He's at 67.5, 68.5, 70.5 on a lot of books out there. So we are getting kind of a softer, friendlier number at the 67.5. So if you're liking Rashad Penny tonight, you're getting him at a lower number at 67.5. Appreciate Evan Curry coming through with the sub, man. Thanks, Evan, for subscribing to the channel. Always appreciative of new subscribers. Appreciate all the likes, all the shares, everything that you guys do to keep this thing pumping. So Pip Paul says, I wish that they had defensive stats up. What do you mean, like individual defensive player props, tackles, things like that? Do they not have those up for tonight's game? Maybe they'll add them later. Typically they do, though. Typically you've got tackles plus assisted tackles. Typically you've got sacks plus assisted sacks. But you're right. I'm not seeing any defensive stats right now. Do they have team defensive fantasy score? They do have that. So if you're like in the Denver Broncos or the Seattle Seahawks tonight, well, you've got both of those options available to you. You can take the more or the less on their fantasy score. And just an FYI for some of you guys that are watching, maybe you don't know this, but if you're looking at fantasy score plays on PrizePicks, keep in mind that they're very, very similar. Not exactly, but very similar to the way that DraftKings scores for fantasy score. The only difference between the two sites, PrizePicks and DraftKings, is that PrizePicks does not award a 3-point bonus for when a player passes for over 100 yards, rushes for over 100 yards, or throws for 300 yards. Sorry, let's try that again. Rushes, receives for over 100 yards, you do not get a 3-point bonus. If you throw for over 300 yards, you do not get a 3-point bonus on PrizePicks. That is the only real difference that I've noticed between PrizePicks fantasy scoring and DraftKings fantasy scoring. So, for instance, taking a look at a fantasy score prop here. Let's just use Russell Wilson, for example. 20 fantasy score. Will he go for more? Will he go for less? We don't know, right? We don't know. But one way that you can kind of research these is you could use a site like Fantasy Labs that offers projections for fantasy score. And in this case, I'm using DraftKings projections, right? Then you would come over here and take a look at the projections. It's at 20.7. Now, we don't know, because we can't see the individual stats that go into this projection, whether or not that accounts for Russell Wilson throwing for over 300 yards. I'm just going to say that based on his passing prop line, it probably does not factor in him throwing for 300 yards. He's probably not going to throw for 300 yards tonight. He could, maybe he could, but I'm just saying this fantasy score is probably pretty much 1-to-1, apples to apples. So he's at 20.7 on Fantasy Labs, 20 on PrizePicks. They both use DraftKings scoring. So that's for all of you who don't know that. You do not get the 3-point bonus on PrizePicks like you do on DraftKings. So keep that in mind when you're talking fantasy score picks, over or under. More or less. See, I did it again. I'm going to keep doing it. Got to get used to the new more or less lingo. Let's see, what else are you guys talking about here in chat? Again, appreciate everybody joining. T-Bone, yeah, I don't know if you picked up on it, but I think Melvin Gordon over 35.5 rushing yards absolutely looks like a good way to go. I like that one more than Javonte. If I had to choose between the two, I'm on Melgo. I'm on Melgo more than I am Javonte Williams. So, appreciate the super chats once again. David, Boss D, Jimmy Green, man, it feels good to be welcome back. Obviously, we had some technical difficulties, some kinks that we're working through, but we're going to get there, man. We're going to get there. We'll get back in the groove. This is the first time in a long time that I've been on here doing one of these live streams. So appreciate everybody who has absolutely joined. Guys, got any other questions? This is last call. We've done a good job of keeping this under 1 hour. Of course, there's only one NFL game to talk about, so it's a little easier to do that when there's, not as many games, not as many picks to talk about. But let me know. DK Metcalf, not DraftKings, right? You're talking about DK Metcalf. What about DK Metcalf? You're talking about his fantasy score? What are we liking about DK? Chris, I don't have anything for kicker fantasy score for you, brother, unfortunately. At least not through Fantasy Labs, but I've got other means, other sources, other ways to get you that. MLB live strikeout prop? Yeah, I mean, we'd have a lot more to talk about with MLB, wouldn't we? Yards for DK Metcalf. Let's take a look at DK's receiving yards. He's at 55.5. I mean, if we're liking, some of you are liking, but if we're liking Geno Smith to go over or go for more than his passing yard line, then he's going to have to throw it to someone, right? DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, obviously the top two targets for the Seattle Seahawks. So Metcalf at 55.5. I mean, he could obviously get that in one reception. He's got the home run hitter, long ball, deep threat ability, right? DK Metcalf, 55.5. The question is Geno Smith the guy that's going to be able to deliver the goods? I mean, is he going to be able to take advantage of these talented wide receivers, Metcalf and Lockett? Looking back at last season, because that's really all we can do is just take a look at what this guy did last year. At 55.5 receiving yards, he did struggle. 9 for 17, just a 53% hit rate. He averaged just a shade under 57 receiving yards per game. So DK Metcalf, 55.5. Let me just pull a projection up for you guys here. And we could take a look at DK Metcalf's receiving yards prop out on some of your favorite sites out there. He's at 55.5 here on PrizePicks. He's at 56.5, 57.5, 60.5 on a lot of different sports books. So we are getting a pretty soft line here on DK Metcalf at just 55.5. So if you wanted to take a shot on the over or more receiving yards for DK Metcalf at 55.5, that wouldn't be a bad way to go. You are getting a little bit of value, not much, 1 yard to like 5 yards, but a little bit of value. His projection though is 52.8. 8. So it's pretty close. Pretty close call. Gordon passing yards. Gordon passing yards. What do you mean Gordon I think you mean receiving yards, maybe? What are you talking about, Junior? Gordon passing yards. I don't know what Gordon receiving yards? Unless Gordon throws the football, I don't know that we're going to get in Gordon passing yards, but maybe receiving yards. We got Melvin Gordon at 9.5 receiving yards. 9.5 receiving yards. Assuming you mean Melvin Gordon receiving yards, I have him projected for 10.7. He's at 9.5 to 10.5 on most of your sports books. So 9.5 to 10.5 receiving yards for Melvin Gordon. So you're getting a little bit of a value play here, a little bit of a soft number at 9.5. Mac B says, penny fantasy or penny yards? Ooh, penny fantasy or penny yards? Good question. Let's take a look at his fantasy score. We've already taken a look at the rushing yards for Rashad Penny. He's at 13 fantasy today. As far as the projections on Penny's fantasy, he's at 12.1 fantasy score. That's his DraftKings fantasy projection. So they have him going for under or less than 13 fantasy score. So I guess maybe the yards out of the two. If you're wanting to take an over or go more, I should say, go more. If you want to go more, then maybe you'd want to go more on the maybe the fantasy yards or rushing yards. Excuse me. Timeout Sports Podcast. Noah Fant over receiving yards. Cortland Sutton over receptions. Noah Fant receiving yards. So Noah Fant, obviously, he's got himself a new home. Former Denver Bronco. Now it's with Seattle. Very talented. Should have a pretty decent matchup. Another guy who's kind of in a revenge game, if you want to call it that, you know. What we're going to have to take a look here at Fant. It's really no sense in us looking back at last season for Fant. Like I said, new team, new situation. But they have him projected for about 27 receiving yards. As far as where he compares out on your various sports books, he's at 24.5 on PrizePicks. You're going to find him anywhere from 24.5 up to 26.5, it looks like, out on your favorite sports book. So you are getting, I guess, the lower line at 24.5 than you would get on some other sites. So, yeah, getting a little bit of value, we'll call it, on Noah Fant. But with yardage, guys, 1 to 2 yards isn't a whole lot of value in terms of receiving or rushing yards or any of that. David's really liking some Metcalf over receptions, says that he's covered in 4 out of 5 games with Geno Smith. So that's one to absolutely consider. Anytime you have sort of stats where you can like look at how Geno Smith has performed with these receivers, I think that's very helpful. So going back to last season, Geno Smith played a handful of games once Russell Wilson got hurt with DK Metcalf. So David's liking some Metcalf receptions. His projected receptions are 4.3. 4.3 projected receptions. He's at 4.5 today on PrizePicks. So it looks like the betting public, they are taking less. They expect him to go for less than 4.5 receptions. That's where the money's coming in out on the sports books. Minus 135, minus 129, betting favorite to go under or less than 4.5 receptions. So that's the way that the public's taking it. Now, that doesn't mean that the public's always right. We know, folks, that the public gets things wrong. So let's see here. What else? Sean Vega says Judy yards. Jerry Judy yards. Receiving yards. Let's take a look at that one. 57.5. Again, if you're buying into Russell Wilson, airing it out. If you're buying into Russell Wilson, passing the football all around the field, then yeah, maybe you buy the over on guys like Jerry Jeudy. I saw some folks really liking Courtland Sutton over receiving yards today. I think he's going to be a really popular option. One of these two guys is probably going to eat. Which one will it be? We don't know. Stay tuned. We're going to figure it out tonight. But Jeudy or Courtland Sutton, both of those guys, I've seen some folks liking the more on their receiving yards. So those are definitely some options for you. Let's take a look at the receiving yards for both guys here. Again, kind of flying into a new situation here, right? We're going into this kind of dark. We don't know how Russell Wilson's going to work out with all these weapons he's got. Jeudy, very talented. Sutton, very talented. Albert O, very talented. Good running backs in the backfield. Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon. So we're going to have to, wait and see how all these things work out. But I got Jeudy projected for 53 receiving yards. That's less than 57.5. If you're looking at all the various sports books out there, they've got Jeudy at higher numbers, 58.5, 60.5, 59.5. So he's in the 58.5 to 60.5 range. But you are getting a kind of a soft number here on Jeudy at 57.5. A little bit of value, but he is projected to go under. Projections aren't always right. Sutton was another guy that I saw a lot of people in the industry talking up today. They were liking Courtland Sutton to go for more than 60.5 receiving yards. Taking a look at him out on your favorite sports books, 59.5, 60.5. So, PrizePicks has him up at 60.5, at 60.5 on a site like PointsBet. You're seeing the public take the under, minus 125 betting favorite to go under, or for less than 60.5 receiving yards, and his projections 55.6. Brittany says, my poor Dak. Yeah, we talked about Dak Prescott at the top of the show. Dak Prescott, he's not looking so good. He broke that thumb. He broke that hand, whatever it is. He ain't going to be able to pick his own nose for a little while. At least not with that hand. He's going to have to use his offhand to dig them boogies out. So, unfortunately, Dak Prescott is going to be on the sideline for a while. After just one game, week 1, Dak Prescott out of there, which is good news for my Philadelphia Eagles. Everyday Fantasy says, big up to my Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm making Dallas 0-7 versus Tampa Bay. Listen, I've lived in Tampa my whole life. I got to give a big salute to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for putting that loss on the Dallas Cowboys. That bodes well for my Philadelphia Eagles and their chances, their prospects of winning the NFC East. I hope they pull it out. With that being said, guys, it is 12:59 p.m. here on the East Coast. I'm going to wrap this sucker up. I think we've talked about everything we need to talk about today. We covered some player props on PrizePicks. We covered some NFL Week 1 news, and we covered some games over on Weddle. So we'll catch you guys real soon, though. You'll be seeing more and more of me, obviously, as the week goes on. But appreciate all your support. Drop a like if you haven't yet on your way out. Catch you in the next one, guys. Peace.